Welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. And now, for your host, Kimberly McLemore.
All right, good evening and welcome to another night of sharing. This is WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. I am your host, Kimberly McLemore, and tonight we have a wonderful guest. Her name is LaKitia Woodard, speaker, sister, coach, author, and founder of A Sister's Truth, AST. LaKitia is a sexual abuse and advocate, motivational speaker, sister coach, and international author, empowering women to live their authentic lives, or their authentic selves, Her passion for speaking blossomed during her matriculation at Clark Atlanta University after joining Youthful Survivors, sharing her testimony of surviving sexual abuse. During her career, she unmasked the ugly truth behind most problems inhibiting women to embody their best selves: a lack of self-awareness. In order to solve this issue, she launched A Sister's Truth. AST coaches women on how to discover, define, and live their truth for manifesting a courageous life without limits. As a result of one-on-one coaching and seminars, women are equipped with the tools, skills, and encouragement needed to stay true to themselves for a purpose-driven life. Through her motivational speeches, LaKitia teaches women the importance of accepting their flaws for personal growth and happiness. And as an author, LaKitia contributes to the world by sharing techniques on how to gain clarity and build the confidence needed to live your truth. So, without further ado, my listeners, I would like to bring on this wonderful lady, Miss LaKitia Woodard. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Kimberly?
I am doing great. It is such a pleasure to have you on the show again. And it's
Thank you for inviting me.
You're always. It's definitely been a while. And I know you have done a lot since the last time that we have spoken. But before we actually get started and when we get into the actual interview questions, why don't you just tell the listeners and our viewers a little bit more about who you are?
Oh, wow. Let me see. You already said a lot. You said a lot already. Well, I'm the founder of A Sister's Truth, motivational speaker. But I'm also a wife. I'm a sister. I have a whole bunch of sisters and brothers. I am an auntie and I am a proud godmother. So I got my hands full everywhere.
You do.
Yeah. In addition to running my business. So yeah.
Well, it's great that you have all that. And that's why I love the show, because we want to know all about the personal side just as much as we want to know about the business side. So as being a mother and you have kids and everything, and how big is your family? You said that you have a large.
I have, yeah. Between my mom and dad, I have 14 sisters and brothers.
Oh,
yeah, and over 40 nieces and nephews.
Wow! And so, where do you fit in that process?
I'm the oldest.
Oh, you are?
I am the oldest. Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
I'm the oldest.
And then look, you look like a baby yourself. So,
thank you.
Would not imagine that you would actually be the oldest out of all of these family members. That is amazing. Yeah. So I am just excited to have you on board, LaKitia. Like I said, it has been some time since we have talked, and I know you have grown tremendously since the last time we talked. So let's talk a little bit though about what truly inspired you to actually get started into the business that you're in.
Lisa Nichols actually was my inspiration when I first started my business. As you know, AST is a personal development company where I provide coaching courses, classes on how to use self-awareness as a tool to live a purpose-driven life. Mm-hmm. And so finding Lisa in the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey was huge for me, because I always knew that my story was tied to my purpose, but I had no idea what that looked like. And so when I ran across Lisa, Lisa Nichols, I don't know if I said her name, Lisa Nichols, when I ran across her and her story and how she built her business on just really like sharing her personal story, or how she was on welfare and then became, this owner of this multi-million-dollar personal development company that's now publicly traded, which is huge, all by just sharing her life experiences and her journey. And so, Lisa helped me to see and understand that I can truly build a business by sharing my testimony on how I survived sexual abuse. And so it wasn't until I found Lisa Nichols that I realized what a life coach really is, like what it is in general, because I never even knew what a life coach was. So finding Lisa, so if I had to attribute, building my business, I have to attribute it to Lisa Nichols. So if I meet her again, I have to, just thank her for living in her truth, because that's what it's all about, right? Our purpose, the gifts that we have is all about the people that we are to serve. It's not just for us. And so just thankfully, she said yes to her purpose, because then she inspired me, right? Just by walking in her truth. And so she's definitely the inspiration behind my business.
Right. Well, and that's amazing how, sometimes it takes that one person to truly open up your gifts in life. And because we all have gifts, but we don't always realize how important our gifts are. And I think sometimes the sad part about who we are as human beings is that sometimes it takes that tragedy in order for us to really recognize who we really are and what we can provide. And like you said, living our purpose in life. And, I know that I think, I honestly believe God pushes us into doing the things that we need to do. And even though he was pushing us prior to the incidences that we have in our tragedies within our lives, he really has now pushed you full blown and realized that you are so much more than what you could have even possibly imagined. And I definitely want to say thank you to Lisa Nichols, because she has made you into this phenomenal young lady who is continuing to soar and teaching other women what their purpose is. So, being that you've been inspired, before you actually got into the business, what other things did you do that helped you kind of blossom the business that you do have?
Before I got into the field?
Yes.
Well, my journey was a long journey of healing, because the first thing I needed to do, I needed to become more self-aware, right? In order for me to really truly embrace my purpose. So I went through 3 phases of self-awareness. This is what I teach my clients as well, because at the end of the day, right, we all want to, walk in our purpose, and, we think that owning a business is a part of that, but you have to know who you are first. So like you mentioned earlier, it really started with me speaking at Youthful Survivors. Back when I was in college, that's when the speaking started. And so from there, opening up my mouth and sharing my story is how I noticed that or realize that I can actually help people. I can actually use my voice to help people. So it was just me just becoming more self-aware of who I am that got me to the place where when I ran across Lisa Nichols, I was in a place where I can receive her and understand what it is that she's doing, and understand how I can, see what it is she's doing and then put my own little spin on it. Because I think that, right now it's hot in these streets to own a business. Being an entrepreneur is the thing to do.
You're right. But the key is though, even though it's hot in the streets, the big thing that I see is that you just have too many fly-by-night businesses where people really don't know their truth. They don't know that they don't love themselves enough to be able to share, because it's one thing to be willy-nilly and come out here and do your thing, but it's another thing to be truthful about what you can really provide for those, because there's a million businesses. What we all do is nothing new.
Right.
But if absolutely you don't but if you don't have that, like you said, that spin on it, or really understand your purpose, you won't last. You won't last.
And you're absolutely right. The Bible says there's absolutely nothing new up under the sun. That's why self-awareness is so important, for you to really hone in on what your gifts are, what your talents are, and how you can contribute to the world. Because, I started a personal development company just like Lisa Nichols, but our businesses are 2 completely different things. Even though she's sharing her life experiences and I'm sharing mine, our coaching styles are completely different. So there's room for both of us to succeed, obviously. but I needed to know who I was. So I think a lot of us, it starts in our personal lives. I feel like we need to get rid of some of these old ideologies that we have heard. Like, for instance, never mix business with personal. Well, it depends on what angle you're coming from, because I feel like if you get yourself together personally, then you would thrive more in your business. So it does start with honing in on who we are, and getting to know who we are, so we can know exactly what it is that we need to do in our business, or even if we should even go in business. Let's start there. So I just think self-awareness is super important, in the fact that I was able to become more self-aware before running into or finding out who Lisa Nichols was. I think that helped me out a lot with just showing up in this space. It's hard being an entrepreneur. It is hard, and showing up every day, like every day is not a win, but because I know that I'm doing what I'm purposed to do, it's easier for me to show up. It doesn't become 100% easy, but it's easier for me to show up, because I see the importance behind what it is that I'm doing, and it goes further beyond me.
Right. And I just like what you just said about the fact that people complain about mixing the personal with business, but it's those personal stories is what people can actually relate to, right? It's those are the individuals that can say, oh, she's talking about me, and she's teaching me. And that's exactly the connection that you felt with Lisa, right? So that's exactly what you're providing for everybody else. So, mixing the personal with the business, I think is absolutely a good thing. I mean, my tragedy is the same way, being a part of domestic abuse and being a part of that, violence, that, if I hadn't, not that I hadn't already been in business, but I know that if I had not had experienced that, I probably would have never really shared or done a lot more than what I'm doing now. And so my job and what my responsibility is to help women to live beyond that abuse and stop feeling stagnant, stop blaming yourself, and stop calling yourself a victim and a survivor, right? Because you no longer those things. You push past it. I'm here. Lord, give me a mouthpiece. I'm here. So you're right. It's about learning to love yourself and learning to continue to move forward. But the thing I also like what you just said is the fact that not every day is peaches and cream. It is not peaches and cream. But when you know your purpose, you push consistently. You are a beautiful example of that, because what you've gone through, I could not even fathom. Like I said, we all have our own personal stories and our own journeys, but I could not fathom being in that position. So as you've gone through all of this, and I know you've got a great business, but talk a little bit more to our listeners and audience about your challenges. What challenges have you been facing in business, professionally and personally?
Okay. Let's see. Professionally, in the beginning, because my business is still new. So the thing that that challenged me in the beginning of my business, and I think this will help a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs or other newbies into the business, was my messaging. I needed to get clear on my messaging. I needed to get clear on who it was I was talking to, right? And so getting clear on that really helped me out a lot. Because in the business, when I first started off my business, I was just like, oh, I want to help women in their mid-20s. Okay, that's a little vague, right? Okay, that's a little vague. So
just a tad bit.
Right. So I needed to get clear on who I wanted to help, who was my target, how I was going to help her, why she needed to choose me to help her on her self-awareness journey. And so once I became clear who I was targeting, my messaging became clear. And so then that's when I started to really see my engagement pick up, because I knew who I was targeting. So when you first starting off your business, like, get your messaging together, because once you get that clarity, you become more confident about talking about your business. And once I got clear, I got my confidence, and I was able to land, podcast interviews, like this right here, radio interviews, and be on TV, because I became confident in my messaging. And I think a lot of us, newbie entrepreneurs, that confidence is lacking a little bit, because we're just not clear. And it's okay to take a moment and just really get clear about what it is that you're trying to do in your business. So that's on a professional side. On a personal side, any challenges? Shoot, there are a lot of challenges, but I do know that there's a lot of challenges on the personal side when it comes to, finding that harmony between life and business. Because I don't like to say balance. I want to say harmony, right? So I'm always striving for that harmony. But the one way, I make sure that there's always harmony is I communicate with my husband. I'm married. It'll be 5 years this year. So I make sure to communicate with my husband. Now, my husband ain't trying to be, not trying to be CEO, CFO, and none of that when it comes to my business. Okay. He's like, that's all you, baby. That's all you. Mm-hmm. But I do share with him so he can know what's going on in my business. So if I'm having a launch, right, which I'm in the middle of a launch right now, if I'm having a launch, he knows what's going on. So if I'm tucked away in my HQ here at the house, he knows okay, let me make sure to get Keisha some space. Right. I told him about this interview, so he knows not to come into the HQ because I don't want to disturb the interview, things like that. Exactly. So if you are married, and you're starting a business, just include your spouse as much as possible. Let them know what's going on, even if they're not, in business. My husband is an IT guy, but I keep him in the loop with everything that's going on in my business. So that way, the harmony is always there. Communication is key. There we go again. Just messaging, clarity, communication. That's so I guess communication is the biggest challenge in both personal and professional, both of my personal and professional lives. So just make sure your communication is together.
Yeah, and you're right. And I love how you realize as we're communicating right now, we're talking how you actually realize it affects both. Communication is everything. Yeah. And that, like you said, your message is important, whether it's in your professional life or in your personal life. And even though your husband is not a part of it or any other individual, not a part of your business, it's per se, they are a part of you. So if you don't communicate well, then that's when you run into problems. And then, as you know, personally, it will affect you professionally. So your message is clear and right on point because that's what it's all about. So. Talk to me a little bit about, tell me, I guess, a little bit about one of your greatest opportunities or your successfulness within your business currently that you've, have been dealing with.
I launched a Facebook show called Living Her Truth, and it's a platform where I created a platform where I get together with sisters and we just talk about what it means and what it looks like to live in our truth. We have honest, transparent, conversations. And so last week I interviewed Marie Crawford, who has a online boutique. And so when I first published my book, I sent her a copy of my book. And so she has been a faithful reader of my book, ever since. And on the show, she shared with me just how much my book helped her, how much of me sharing my, personal experiences in the book had helped her. And it's so crazy, Kimberly, because I almost didn't write the book at the time that I wrote the book. I almost didn't do it. So I contribute that as my greatest success. Anytime I get a review, positive feedback, somebody who has read my book or watched the video, seen me live on social media and say that you touch me in some type of way, like that's my biggest success. That I contribute that a success more so than a successful 5-figure or 6-figure launch. That's my success because at the end of the day, I just want to help people, right? And to know that I'm doing just that, man, that's my biggest success. Absolutely, hands down.
And actually that's a beautiful, way of making people understand that it doesn't matter how successful another individual may be, but just what you portray and what you bring out truly does help those, because it's that connection. It's all about that simple connection. And then they may not have gone through the exact same thing that you're going through, but like I tell people, it's not normally the tragedy as much as it is how you move forward. how you continue to strive and realize that you are here for a reason. God has given you an opportunity to stay put and do something beneficial. And so it's that real purposely connection there. I think that she felt and others are feeling, and that is the reason why she has so much respect for you. And congratulations on that. So talk a little bit to me more about, and our listeners, talk a little bit more about your book.
Okay, so the name of my book is 31 Days of Truth, Manifest Your Passion, Power, and Perseverance. So in my book for 31 days, I talk about a common life issue and struggle that we all have experienced to give you tips and tricks on how to turn that issue into a triumph. And I wrote my book, in a way where it's easy for you to read, easy for you to understand. Like I kept all the fluff out of my book, right? Because because I'm the type of person I like to get straight to the point. I tell people all the time, like, I'm not the type of person that will go to your blog site. And if you have a blog post that says, 10 ways to make money, I'm going to go straight down to the top ways of how to make money. Like, I'm not going to read probably not what you wrote before or after. It's nothing against you, but I just like to get straight to the point. And so that's how I wrote my book. And also in my book, you have space to write down your thoughts in your journal. That's my sneaky way of making sure that my readers are putting what they read into action, because it's not just about reading a book. It's also about taking action. And that's something that a lot of us are just too afraid to do sometimes, is to take action because of fear, failure, embarrassment, judgment, all the typical things that we're all afraid of, right? Mm-hmm. And so with my book, I wrote it so for 31 days, you are constantly motivating, inspiring yourself because, mental wellness, if you will, is something that we need to practice every single day. And so my book, the way I wrote it, my book, you can read it straight for 31 days. You can put it down. And then when you're going through something, you can go back and read that particular day as it relates to what it is you're going through at that time. So I just wrote it as something that you can always, reflect back on, because so many of us, we go to bed and sometimes we just go to bed defeated. And I don't want you to go to bed defeated. I feel like I truly believe the way you go to sleep is how you wake up in the morning. So even if you just read 10 encouraging words from my book, hopefully that'll make you be more encouraged when you wake up the next day, because you're gonna have to face it all over again the next day. Right. So we have to constantly, strengthen our mindset every single day. So that's the reason why I wrote my book.
Yeah. And I love how you just described your writing skills in your background. You sound just like me. I am the same type of word. I'm not a fluff writer. I never have been. And I'm the type of, I can even remember in school where I took speed reading course because I could not stand to have to do all the nonsense just to get to the main point. Teach me what it is you try to teach me, because I get bored and I'm like, well, I'm just going to put it away. I will actually never finish it. So you're right. I think it's very important that when you're trying to convey a message, that you convey it up front, and then allow individuals to be able to, think about it and within themselves and put those notes down. Like I said, put those notes and put them into actual action. So you are absolutely on point. And I love that about you.
Absolutely. And then also too, I wrote it in the way that I wrote it because I want to give people answers. Because if anybody pick up a self-help book, no matter what book it is by whatever author, they're picking it up because they want to have an answer.
Exactly.
So for me, a 1, 2, 3 process helps out a lot with me. And I'm not saying that the answers that I give in the book will work for anyone, but at least it would get your mind turning. Right? Because sometimes we just need to have an idea of how to deal with something. I know how it feels to be in a situation and everybody around you is doing something different. Nobody else has necessarily experienced what it is that you're experiencing. So no one can really give you the advice that you need. So, even just giving you that exposure of one way to handle a problem or handle an issue. Because we all know there are, several different ways you can skin a cat. Right.
But you're right. You're absolutely right. Sometimes it just takes that one little piece. And like we just talked a few minutes ago about the fact that you don't have to go through a bunch of fluff in order to get to the point. And people just need to understand, how do I get my answer quickly? And if somebody's in a very tragic situation, they're looking for it right then and there. They don't have time to hear, oh, well, you go to this direction and you go left and then you go right. And then maybe you can get down the street, and eventually you get there. That is the whole purpose of what your business is about, as well as your books. And like you said, you're there to lift women and even men, or anyone who feels that they need that at that moment. So as we continue here, we're getting close to the end of the interview. So tell the listeners a little bit more about where they can find you and reach out to you, as well as where they can also get a copy of your book.
Sure, absolutely. So you can find out more about me, all things me, and A Sister's Truth at asisterstruth.com. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at A Sister's Truth. And then you can also find me on Facebook at LaKitia Marie. That's LaKitia Marie, or Living Her Truth. My weekly show. I just shot my season finale, so I'm super excited about that. But all the replays are there. So just go to Living Her Truth on Facebook and you can catch up on all the episodes. And then you can find my book on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com, as well as on my website.
All right. Well, it has been a pleasure having you on. Do you have any last words that you would like to share with the listeners?
Sure. When it comes to, building your business, or if you're thinking about going into business, just know that you are enough and your truth is beautiful. So it doesn't matter what business it is that you're going into. Just continue to work on your self-awareness, because that's what's going to set you apart from all the other businesses that's out there. Think about it, guys. How many lawyers do you know? How many doctors are out there, right? And people continue to go to law school and continue to go to medical school every single day. So even though there are 20 other businesses doing what it is that you are doing, and they may seem successful, guess what? You can be successful too. Just, become more self-aware, get confident in who you are, and your gifts and talents is what's going to set your business apart from all the other businesses.
Phenomenal. And again, I appreciate you. I thank you for coming on this evening and sharing your story and talking about all the resources and what you have provide, and continue to do great work. LaKitia, have a wonderful evening, and we'll be talking soon. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. All right. We just had another phenomenal guest, Miss LaKitia Woodard. She is amazing. She is the founder and the owner of AST, which is, like I said, we talked a little bit about A Sister's Truth, and we talked about her book. So please reach out to her if you are looking for some answers. Understand that you are not the only one that has been through tragedy, but there's also a way out of that tragedy. And also, what I would like to say for you again, I said, thank you for coming on this evening. But if you would like to be a guest on the show, all you need to do is provide me a short bio, a pic, and a logo, and you can be a guest in 2019. I would love to have you. And where you need to send that information would be to Kimberly at WSBILC.com. And again, like I said, I do appreciate you all chiming in with me this evening on the show. And if you have any other questions or you have any concerns, please be more than welcome to contact me. But I love having you on. But until next time, we will see you all next week on your Resource for Success podcast show. Good night.
Good night, everyone. We will be back next Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Follow us on Spreaker, www.spreaker.com/user/WSBI. View our new WSBI website anytime at www.wsbillc.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram.